So again, welcome to Express Meditation this morning. As usual, we're going to start with just a few minutes of focused meditation on the breath. Give ourselves a chance to come into this space, calm the mind a bit. And then today we're going to do a meditation on lessening our anger, thoughts of anger that we might have, especially towards those who are on the other side. There's a lot of divisiveness in the country. We can work with that a little bit and some thoughts that can help us to work to alleviate that anger. So let's go ahead and begin with, again, a few minutes of focused meditation on the breath. No doubt you have a way that you work with the breath already, so feel free to use that for the next several minutes. And again, just work as best as you can in calming the mind. Whenever the mind gets distracted, bring the mind back to the breath. So now let's set our motivation for doing the meditation this morning. Recalling that although we might look at the world around us and see that there are a lot of things that we'd like to change, we'd like to change the minds of others, make them more positive, reduce their negative tendencies. If we're ever going to be effective at helping the world, we have to work on our own minds first. We have to reduce our own negative tendencies, our anger, our greed, our jealousy, and so on. And we have to accentuate and develop those positive qualities, our compassion, our concern, our love, our patience. So generate the motivation of working on yourself through this half hour to address your own negative states, to cultivate more positive attitudes so that you can be of greater benefit to others. We can't change the world without changing ourselves individually. So hold that awareness for why you're doing the meditation today. So we're going to begin by visualizing in the space before us, whoever it is that we see as being on the other side. Could even imagine that you're at a protest with all of your fellow protesters, and in the space before you are the counter protesters, those who represent the views that are completely antithetical to the views you hold. And just see how it's quite natural, imagining ourselves in that situation, for thoughts of anger to arise. Thoughts that demean and belittle those people before us, that think that they have no ground for even, being there. And we would rather kind of abolish them, get them off the planet, vote them off the island, whatever. We would rather have them completely gone than deal with them, or deal with our minds in the space of being around them. So imagine that you're in such a situation. And begin by just having this simple recognition that these beings in front of you who hold views that are opposite of yours have a very basic thing in common with you and with all other beings. They simply want to be happy and don't want to suffer. Spend a few minutes examining that idea. Is that really true for every one of those beings? Is that their basic motivation? And if so, how does that help to begin to see them in a more humane light, to embrace them from some vantage point of understanding that they have that same basic need? But they, like us and many other beings, are very confused about how to go about achieving those results, how to truly be happy, how to truly be free from suffering. So spend a few minutes investigating that core idea that can be a starting point in reducing our feelings of anger towards those people who are opposed to us. And then once more recalling that you're in this setting where these counter-protesters are in front of you. You might even imagine them yelling at you and those who are in your group. Imagine them saying very violent things or doing violent things. We see once more how thoughts of anger arise so easily that we can ask a question that Master Shantideva encourages us to ask. Is it in the nature of those beings to be this way? Is that really their nature? We have two possible answers to that. The first one is, yes, that's their nature. Of course, Buddhism wouldn't teach that this is their nature, but let's try that on. If that is their nature, if it is the nature of these people in front of us who are counter-protesting to be so violent, to be so hateful, well then to get angry at them would be, Master Shantideva says, would be like to begrudge fire for having the nature of burning. If that's their very nature, well then why would we get angry and upset at them? Because that can't change. It's simply the way that they are. So just take a minute or so to analyze from that vantage point and see if once more that does help to lessen some of the thoughts of anger you might have towards them. If this is simply the way they are, that's their nature, well then why would we get upset and angry? So while it might seem at times that it is the nature of these beings to be this way, the Buddhist answer to that question that Master Shantideva poses is that no, it's not the nature of these beings. At their very core, that isn't who they are. They aren't their anger, their violence. And if we were to get upset at them on the basis of that, Master Shantideva says it would be just like getting angry and upset at the sky because there are clouds in it. If these factors that cause beings to have anger, to be violent, arise on the basis of their causes and conditions, just like the clouds, why would we get upset at the sky? Why would we get upset at the person in whom those delusions are arising? If they're there adventitiously, well, then that's not who this person really is. So why would we get upset? Why would we get angry if at that moment those clouds of anger are arising in their mind? So spend a few minutes analyzing from this vantage point to see if you can separate the delusions, the clouds, from the person, the sky. Then once more, recalling that you're in this situation, and imagine that this crowd of counter-protesters gets even more violent. They have sticks or bats, and suddenly they're hitting you or others with those sticks, with those bats. Well, you would get angry, no doubt, but why don't you get angry at the stick or the bat? That's what's hitting you. Master Shantideva says we would probably reply, well, no, the person is wielding the bat, the stick, so that's why we get angry at that person. That's why we put that person down in our own minds and think that they're worthy of our hate, our disgust. But Master Shantideva corrects us and he says, the person is being wielded by their own delusions, just like the stick is being wielded by the person. We don't have the correct attitude towards them because they are under the control of those factors. They have the clouds and their sky-like mind that are flavoring everything they do. The real enemy, the real culprit, is the delusions, the anger, the violent tendencies, the malice, whatever in the minds of those beings. That's the real enemy. Again, contemplate this for a few minutes and see if it can help to lessen your feelings of anger, to see that even at the point where these people become violent and hit you, hurt you, they are not an appropriate object of anger. Rather, we should be angry at the delusions. And then let's see if we can take this even a step further to generate more positive attitudes, not just have the understanding of what's going on at a deeper level, but is it possible to have some compassion for those people on the other side? Seeing them in such a state of rage, of violence, what must it be like for them? What would even experiencing their minds for a moment right then be like? The suffering they must be experiencing to be under the control of such rage, to have their minds inflamed by anger. Is it possible to have some compassionate thoughts to wish them to be free from that anger, that rage, that violence, to see that that isn't their nature? Again, it's like the clouds in the sky. It need not be there. It's just causes and conditions have led them to have that state of mind at this time. So again, try to work with developing some compassion, understanding the suffering that being must be experiencing, being under the control of such strong emotions. And moreover, recall, if you have faith in karma, that these beings, by virtue of what they're doing, their violent actions, their negative states of mind, will experience suffering in the future. They may not have to face any consequences of their immediate actions right in the moment, but they are creating karma. That negative karma will ripen into future suffering. Again, try to hold them in the light of compassion, understanding that they're unknowingly creating the causes of their own suffering. Although they want to be happy and don't want to suffer, they're doing the exact opposite, creating the causes for more suffering, for less happiness. So then arrive at a conclusion from this meditation to recognize that having a deeper understanding of reality conventionally, as well as having some greater concern and compassion for these beings, will help us to be of greater benefit to them. We can certainly take opposition to the positions these people might hold, to the actions they might engage in, and want to address those, to correct those. But if we do it with anger, if we do it with our own minds inflamed, we'll never be successful. But if we have compassionate concern for them, we will be much more effective at dealing with the problems in our world and healing the divisions that we have in this country as well as throughout the world. So try to hold that thought to determine to be of greater benefit to others through lessening those thoughts of anger in these ways. Okay, wonderful. And let's dedicate all this positive energy we've created by looking at this delusion of anger that can be in our own minds and trying to work with the opposite, developing more compassionate concern. And may this ripen into our own development of ourselves to the greatest degree so we can help others to do the same work. We also dedicate for all of our precious teachers so they can have good health and long lives, continue to be a guiding positive influence in this world for us and all beings. And then we also dedicate for those that we're holding in our hearts right now, whoever they are, who are experiencing obstacles, difficulties, suffering, illness, who have died recently or might even be dying at this time. We send this positive energy out to those beings, and especially to those beings who are on the other side, who do oppose us in their views. May there be great healing in this nation and in this world. May all beings be completely healed. Okay, wonderful. Thank you all so much for joining today, and I'll see you all again soon. Okay, be safe.